What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected legends finally decides he's done playing nice with the media? You're about to find out. Because what Denzel Washington did on The View that morning didn't just shake the studio, it sent shockwaves across the entire entertainment world. But before we get into the moment that left the hosts speechless, hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments below. You're going to want to talk about this one. The lights were bright. The crowd was warm. It was supposed to be just another daytime press stop, but the second Denzel Washington walked onto that set, something felt different. He was calm, cool, polished as ever, but beneath that signature composure, something was simmering. He wasn't just there to promote a film. He was there to speak, and he wasn't pulling punches. As the interview began, Whoopi Goldberg, flanked by Joy Behar, Sarah and Devi, and the usual panel, welcomed Denzel with her familiar smirk and that controlled tone of confidence she uses when she thinks she's running the room. She began, "Your new film tackles some pretty heavy themes. Don't you think Hollywood has a responsibility to present a more progressive point of view on these issues?" Denzel leaned back, unfazed, his eyes locked on her. "Whoopi," he said, slowly and deliberately, "maybe the real question is, why do we assume Hollywood should be pushing any point of view at all, instead of just telling honest stories?" The smirk on Whoopi's face faltered for just a beat. "We have a platform," she replied, voice tightening. "We should be responsible with that influence, shouldn't we?" Denzel didn't blink. "Responsible," he echoed. "Is it responsible to silence voices that don't align with your beliefs? Because I've been watching this show, and what I've seen doesn't look like open dialogue. It looks like control." The air shifted. You could feel the tension thickening. Whoopi stiffened. "I'm not sure what you're implying," she snapped. "We're all about open conversation on this show." Denzel let out a soft laugh, sharp and dry. "Really? Because just last week, you shut down a guest the second they said something you didn't like. You didn't ask follow-ups. You didn't try to understand. You just moved on. Like there. Voice didn't matter." Now the other hosts were visibly uncomfortable. Eyes darting, cameras catching every stiff movement. Producers signaling from behind the glass. "We give everyone a fair chance," Whoopi snapped, pointing across the table. "Do you?" Denzel shot back. "Or do you only give people a fair shot when they say what you want to hear?" The studio was silent. Dead silent. Then Whoopi pushed harder. "You know what, Denzel? Maybe you should stick to acting and leave the complicated conversations to people who understand the nuance." That was the moment everything changed. Denzel's face didn't flinch, but his voice dropped quiet, firm, unshakable. "Let me tell you something about nuance. Whoopi, nuance," he continued, "is having the humility to admit that your worldview isn't the only one that matters. Nuance is listening even when it makes you uncomfortable. What you're doing here isn't complex, it's simple. It's gatekeeping. It's intellectual bullying. And I'm tired of watching it happen." Whoopi's face flushed red. Her carefully curated on-air persona was cracking fast. "How dare you come on my show and your show?" Denzel cut in, voice still measured, but powerful enough to shake the walls. "I thought this was a panel, a place for discussion, not a throne you get to sit on while you decide who's worthy of being heard." You could have heard a pin drop in that studio. Every camera captured it. Every co-host froze. Every audience member held their breath. And Denzel, he didn't shout. He didn't storm off. He simply spoke the truth and made sure everyone heard it. So what do you think? Was Denzel out of line, or was he saying what everyone else has been afraid to? Which moment hit hardest for you? Let me know in the comments, and if you want more behind-the-scenes clashes where Hollywood's masks fall off and real voices break through, make sure you subscribe, because this isn't just entertainment anymore. It's a reckoning. The air had turned thick with tension. What started as a standard press interview was now veering into uncharted territory, a live showdown between two icons. And there was no commercial break in sight. "This is the Whoopi Goldberg hour," Denzel said sharply, "where everyone else just nods along with whatever you've decided is truth for the day." The other hosts froze, caught in a crossfire they didn't see coming. Torn between supporting their longtime colleague and realizing that deep down, Denzel was saying things they couldn't easily refute. Joy Behar tried to cut the tension. With a nervous chuckle, "Well, maybe we all need a group hug," she joked, reaching for levity. Denzel didn't even blink. "No, Joy, this isn't the time for jokes," he said, voice firm. "This is bigger than your usual deflection tactics." He turned back to Whoopi, his tone steady, his gaze locked in. "You sit in that chair every day with all this reach, this platform, and instead of using it to invite different perspectives, to build understanding, you use it to shut down anything that doesn't fit your worldview. That's not leadership, Whoopi." He paused. "That's authoritarianism." The word detonated like a grenade. Whoopi's expression shifted instantly. The control, the polish it all cracked authoritarianism. She snapped, voice shaking. "You want to come on this show and throw that word at me?" Denzel didn't flinch. "You've made it your mission to control the conversation," he said, "and anyone who doesn't fall in line, you label them outdated, problematic, uninformed. You don't ask why they think what they think. You don't engage. You just dismiss." Whoopi's fury erupted. "Oh, really? How about the way Hollywood shut people like me out for decades? How about how you walk in here with all your awards and your roles, and now want to tell me how I should run my show?" Denzel stayed seated, still calm, but his voice dropped quiet, dangerous. "People like me?" he asked. "You know exactly what I mean," Whoopi snapped. "You've had every door open for you, every opportunity handed to you, and now you want to stand here and call me the problem." The other hosts were visibly unraveling. Sarah Haynes looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. Joy kept opening her mouth, but the words never came. They were witnessing something historic, and no one knew how to stop it. Denzel leaned in slightly. His voice dropped to a whisper but somehow filled the entire studio. "Every door I've walked through," he said, "I had to kick down myself. 30 years in this business, nothing handed to me. I fought for every inch, every role, every ounce of respect. And now, because I don't parrot back the exact lines you've approved, you try to erase that." Whoopi pointed across the table, her voice brittle and trembling. "Don't you dare try to turn this around and make me the villain. I've been fighting for justice longer than you've been making movies." "Justice." Denzel's eyebrows lifted. "You call it justice when you attack anyone who disagrees with you. That's not justice. That's power, preservation, plain and simple." The studio was dead silent now. The audience wasn't breathing. The crew had stopped moving. Even the teleprompters were forgotten. Then Whoopi stood abruptly, her chair scraping across the floor with a screech. "You know what? I don't have to sit here and take this from someone who's clearly lost touch with reality." Denzel didn't even move. "Sit down, Whoopi," he said calmly. "You invited me here, remember? You said you wanted a conversation. Let's have one. Or is it only a conversation when everyone agrees with you?" "I invited you to talk about your movie," Whoopi shot back, fists clenched. "Not to attack me on my show, and I came here to talk about my movie," Denzel replied, still level. "But you made it political. You opened the door to ideology instead of art. And now that I've walked through that door, you don't like what I'm saying." Joy finally found her voice. Maybe we should cut to commercial." "No," Denzel said firmly, eyes never leaving Whoopi's. "No more commercial breaks, no more dodging, no more running away from real conversations the moment they get uncomfortable." Whoopi's face was flushed. Her anger was visible, raw. "You think you can walk into my house and disrespect me like this?" she said. "You think just because you've got a couple Oscars, you can come in here and lecture me?" Denzel let out a small, humorless laugh. "Your house?" he asked Whoopi. "This is a television studio, owned by a network. This isn't your house. It's not mine either. It's a platform. And the only reason either of us is here is because the public decided we were worth watching." He stood, finally, but not to storm off, just to level with her, eye to eye. He said, voice soft now, "I earned them. Through work. Through discipline, by respecting my audience enough to always bring my best. When was the last time you showed that same respect to the people watching you?" No one said a word, and maybe they didn't need to, because in that moment, the real question wasn't who won the argument. It was who had the courage to show up and speak truth in a room full of silence. The question landed like a punch. Whoopi's mouth opened, then shut again. She grasped for words until finally she found them. "How dare you question my respect for this audience?" she snapped. I've been fighting for them for years, speaking truth to power. Standing up for what's right, while people like you stayed quiet, too afraid to touch anything controversial. Denzel tilted his head slightly, a slow, deliberate shake of disappointment. Speaking truth to power, he repeated. Whoopi, you are the power now. You've got the platform, the influence, the reach, and instead of using that responsibly, you use it to shame and silence anyone who doesn't parrot your beliefs. He leaned in, not with aggression, but with clarity. That's not truth-telling. That's becoming exactly the thing you used to fight against. Around the table, the other hosts were motionless, eyes darting like spectators at a tennis match. Only this wasn't a game. It was a war over what public discourse had become what it might never be again. You don't know what you're talking about, Whoopi hissed, though the steel in her voice had started to buckle. You have no idea the pressure I carry, the responsibility that comes with this seat. I do know pressure, Denzel replied calmly. I do know responsibility. What I don't understand is how you can talk about justice and equality while treating people who disagree with you like they're beneath you. Whoopi slammed her hand on the table. The sound cracked through the studio, making even the camera crew flinch. I treat people the way they deserve to be treated, she barked. Their actions define that. Denzel didn't blink. Really? Then tell me what the guest last week did to deserve being humiliated on air. All they did was suggest there might be more than one way to look at a complex issue. That's what earned your mockery. They were spreading dangerous misinformation. Whoopi countered instantly. Misinformation or just information that didn't fit your narrative. Denzel asked, voice ice cold. There's a difference, and your inability to tell them apart is exactly the problem. The silence that followed was suffocating. Sarah Haynes looked ready to cry. Joy Behar stared at her papers, shuffling them pointlessly, hoping the moment would magically disappear. Whoopi leaned forward, her voice a low growl. You know what your real problem is, Denzel? You've been in Hollywood too long, surrounded by yes-men, people who tell you what you want to hear. You've forgotten what it's like in the world. You've forgotten what it means to fight for something. Denzel rose from his seat, not with fury, but with presence. His full height, his full voice, commanded the room. My problem? He repeated. My problem is that I still believe in treating people with dignity even when they disagree with me. I still believe conversation is more valuable than condescension. That truth matters more than being right. He let the words hang just long enough to hurt. But your problem, Whoopi, is that somewhere along the way, you forgot that being passionate about your beliefs doesn't give you the right to destroy anyone who doesn't share them. The words landed like a verdict. For a long beat, the studio was frozen. Then Whoopi's expression shifted rage, disbelief, confusion, till finally it settled into something sharper. Something dangerous? You think you're better than me, she whispered, her voice low but venomous. You think you can come into my house, humiliate me in front of my audience, my team, and walk away untouched. Denzel didn't retreat. He didn't escalate. He simply held his ground. I don't think I'm better than anyone, he said, but I do think we can all be better than what you've shown today. Whoopi's jaw clenched. You know what I've shown you today? She asked, voice cracking slightly. I've shown you someone who's tired of being lectured by people who've never had to fight for anything real in their lives. Denzel's face changed genuine surprise, flickering in his eyes. You think I've never had to fight? He asked. You think success in this town just gets handed to people like me? I think it gets handed to people who play the game, Whoopi shot back. People who smile and nod, who don't rock the boat. Now it was Denzel's turn to look hurt. But not because her words stung, because they missed something deeper. Is that really what you think of me? He asked softly. After all these years, after all the work, all the stories I've chosen to tell. You think I've never challenged anything? The moment caught Whoopi off guard. Her certainty cracked, but then, just as quickly, her defenses slammed back into place. I think you've made a career out of playing it safe, she said, and now you want to come here and lecture me about courage. Denzel raised his eyebrows slowly. Playing it safe, he said with disbelief. I've spent my career taking roles most actors wouldn't touch, telling stories studios called too risky, standing up for what mattered without tearing others down in the process. There was silence again. Then, finally, Joy Behar, desperate to regain controls, spoke up in a trembling voice. Maybe we should go to commercial. But the audience, the crew, the entire room knew there was no cutting away from this moment. Because for once, live on national television, everything was real. We should all just take a step back here, Joy Behar began, but Whoopi cut her off sharply. No, Joy, I want to hear what Mr. Washington has to say, she snapped, locking eyes with Denzel. I want to hear how he thinks he's qualified to judge how I do my job. Denzel held her gaze for a long moment, then answered with a voice as calm as it was cutting. I'm not here to judge you, Whoopi, he said. I'm here to point out that what you're doing isn't your job. Any more? Your job was supposed to be about opening up dialogue, not dominating it. About helping people understand different points of view, not punishing them for holding one. My job, Whoopi said, her voice rising, is to speak truth in a world full of lies. To call out injustice even when it makes people uncomfortable. And who decided? You get to define what truth is, Denzel asked. Who gave you the authority to say what counts as justice and what doesn't? Because from where I'm sitting, you've declared yourself judge, jury, and executioner. Anyone who disagrees with your version of right and wrong gets demolished. The words hit like a hammer. Whoopi's face turned pale, then flushed red. I didn't appoint myself anything, she said, almost trembling. I earned this seat. I worked my way here over decades standing up for what's right, when it wasn't easy or popular. I don't doubt that, Denzel replied. But now that you're here, what are you doing with it? Are you lifting people up or tearing them down? Are you building bridges or burning them? Sarah Haynes leaned forward, trying to say something conciliatory, but Whoopi cut her off, waving her hand like a blade. Don't you dare spin this into me burning bridges. I'm holding people accountable for their words, for their actions. Accountable to who? Denzel asked quietly. To you? Your version of morality. Your worldview. Because real accountability works both ways. And if you expect others to answer for what they say, then you should be ready to do the same. I am accountable, Whoopi insisted. To my audience, to my principles. Are you, though? Denzel countered gently. When's the last time you admitted you were wrong? When's the last time you said, I'm sorry? When's the last time you showed someone the grace you expect everyone to show you? The silence was deafening. Whoopi opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Then finally, I show grace to people who deserve it. And who decides that? Denzel asked, you. That's a dangerous power for any one person to hold, Whoopi, and you wield it like a sword. The audience was dead still. The crew barely breathed. Whoopi stepped back from the table, hands trembling. You know what? I don't have to stand here and listen to this. This is my show. I'm not going to be disrespected like this. And that, Denzel said, his voice now touched with sadness, is exactly the problem. The moment someone challenges you, you hide behind your authority. You end the conversation. That's not strength, Whoopi. That's fear. How dare you call me weak, she hissed, taking a step toward him. I'm not calling you weak because you're angry, he said. I'm calling you weak because you can't handle being questioned, because when your ideas are challenged, you attack. The person, not the point. That's not conviction. That's insecurity. Get out, Whoopi shouted, her voice trembling with rage. Get out of my studio right now. Denzel looked at Hercom, unmoving, even empathetic. Your studio, he echoed. This platform belongs to all of us. The airwaves, the conversations, the responsibility, but you've turned it into your kingdom where only your voice matters. Security? Whoopi barked, her voice cracking. Get him out now. That won't be necessary, Denzel said, adjusting his jacket. I'll leave, but before I do, I want to say something to the people watching. He turned to the cameras. The tension in the studio thickened like fog. This isn't about politics, he said. This isn't left or right, red or blue. This is about basic human decency and the courage to listen to people who see the world differently. He looked into the lens like he was speaking directly to every living room in the country. We live in a time when it's easy to surround ourselves with people who agree with us, to only hear the voices that echo our own. But that's not how we grow. That's not how we heal. That's not how we solve anything. Behind him, Whoopi stood frozen, caught between fury and disbelief, watching as Denzel used her stage to deliver the final word. "The person across the dinner table who disagrees with you isn't your enemy," Denzel continued. "The coworker with a different opinion isn't a threat. The neighbor who votes differently isn't someone to destroy. They're just another human being trying to make sense of the same broken world." He turned back to Whoopi, his expression resolute, but no longer angry. "I came here to talk about storytelling, about the power of film to bring people together. Instead, I walked into a mirror of everything that's tearing us apart. You had a chance to lead a meaningful conversation. Instead, you proved why so many people have stopped trusting the institutions that claim to speak for them." With that, he turned and walked toward the exit. No security needed. No commercial break, just silence. Whoopi stood there, stunned, her face cycling through disbelief, fury, and something dangerously close to shame. Finally, she sank into her chair. The fight gone, the air heavy. The cameras were still rolling, but nothing else moved. What did you think of this moment? Have you ever seen anything like it on live television? Drop a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories about what happens when real principles confront manufactured outrage.